I just hit the go button. I'm still eating a little breakfast. We've got Fred and Jim online with us now. And for a special treat, Emily is done with class, so she has joined us this morning.
I'm the special treat. Everyone here loves me.
Lipstick
Yeah.
and kisses.
Don't get too full of yourself. You haven't paid for breakfast. Might be washing dishes. And so, I've got more microphones here. Let's
Jim.
and Jim's with us.
Huh?
Oh,
Should be on over there.
Well, yes.
hey. Here we go. There's a microphone there.
Oh, you need speakers.
Right.
You know, Amazon's got a nice set of cheap speakers. They sound great and loud. I'm serious. I got a set at the house. I think they were $8.
But the voice of the online people echoes through the restaurant.
Hmm.
Here we go, Jim. Thank you.
Okay,
We better take that now. She's eyeing it.
We're up and going. This is the San Carlos Computer Club. I am Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions. We meet every Tuesday at 10 and attempt to do it from Tequila's. But as I sent out in my message, if you didn't get it, this is the last meeting of this season in person. I'll be leaving for Alaska next week. Consequently, the 19th is canceled, or at least I won't be there. You guys can do whatever you want, but I won't be in the meeting on the 19th. And so it will be on the 26th. We'll have our next meeting, and that will be a all virtual meeting. And that virtual meeting will persist until we return to in-person meetings in October. Well, I should say virtual meetings persist regardless. We always try and have virtual meeting regardless of whether we can meet in person.
So we can watch you eat.
That's right. You're here to watch me eat breakfast.
Either that or in person or virtual.
Well, I have prepared a document like I typically do. Jim, I feel like we haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? Hi, talking to Cunningham here.
I'm good. We had a bit of a medical emergency with Linda. She had a detached retina, and that caused us to come back early. It's been a long 90 days, but fortunately, it is all over and 100% cured. The outcome was the best it possibly could be.
Oh, that's awesome. Yay. We're glad to hear Linda.
Yay is right. Yay is right.
Where is my document? Here it is.
The internet's slow here today.
Oh, good. I thought it was just me.
I still can't even get on the Amazon page.
Oh, and there goes the camera.
What's up, YouTube? We're gonna.
With what?
No.
You can't talk to that camera. You got to talk to that microphone.
Just loose.
Well, you're going to tighten it up.
Yeah, tighten it up. Tight. You can do it. You can do it.
I'll put it.
Try again. Not available. Oh, well.
Man, I can't make it any tighter than this.
Brisette's looking at this. What happened?
What's up, YouTube?
All right, there we go. We are functioning
You
again.
sing a song for us or what?
Today we're doing the San Carlos Computer Club. This is San Carlos Computer Club rap.
Yeah, go.
Wait, hang on. I'm cooking.
You have no rhymes.
I have no rhymes. I have no beats.
Well, this is a document I prepared for today's meeting, but is typical. I I'm interested in what you guys got going on. So Jim or Fred or Jim, if you guys got anything you want to bring up, now is the time to bring it up. If there's any questions you want to try and find answers to, or troubleshooting you want to try and do. Fred?
I have a question.
Certainly.
Did you get to look up Pegasus?
I did. That was a very interesting thing. I actually came across some designs that were never put into production. But did you pay any attention to that? Fred had mentioned it last week about Pegasus as a system that was designed during World War II that can take wood and gas it and put it in your gas tank. Or put it not in your gas tank, but it's got its own gas tank that drifts it into your system. And so it vaporizes wood burning into a gas that you can run your car on.
I missed that.
I couldn't find a good general all reference, or I would have put a link to it. But I found a number of things in an AI description and a diagram that showed off a patent application or something that never actually went into production. Cool stuff. Those are the speakers.
Nice.
Yeah, they're $18.99. But I
Is
don't
that
think,
is that
I don't
Mexican Amazon?
no.
So it's $18.99 plus $100 gas to get up there to get
You're going up there.
it.
You'll be there.
I'm just making sure I got the economy of scale set correctly.
Well, I didn't pay that much for mine.
These things are worth $119. And if they aren't,
I'm always looking on the Mexican side to see if stuff's available too. Hey, with that in mind, I just was helping a customer figure out how they're going to replace this laptop that I'm working on for them. The motherboard's gone bad on it. It is beautiful, 2-in-1, but it's from 2017. And it's obvious that the motherboard has gone bad over time. And there's a lot of really reasonable versions of this computer out there. And then there's really expensive versions of this computer. It's intrinsically beautiful. And it's an Ultrabook touchscreen, 2-in-1 yoga that was way ahead of its time at the time it was purchased. And whenever I see that, whenever I go looking for parts and I see they're difficult to find, the motherboard for this computer is either very reasonably priced, like $150, used, being sold through some mechanism that makes it very difficult for me to think that I could return it if it was proven to be bad. And very expensive, like $400 more from a reputable renewed source that would take it back. And I found the laptops were of the same stature. Buy the laptop, this laptop, the exact same laptop on eBay for $300, or from a reputable source that you could return it to if you had a problem with it, $1,200.
Yeah, but look at their data boys on eBay.
Well, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the reviews from, right? And so you got like 2 or 3 reviews over here that could be fictitious, and a business that is selling laptops.
Yeah.
And these prices are so disproportionate. I've run into this before. And here's my theory, and this is the reason that I advised her to spend her money wisely on a new computer instead of trying to make this beautiful computer continue to work, is because what I believe is going on is these computers are going bad over time. There is something about them as they've gotten older, maybe just use, maybe twisting, but I would imagine it's the same place that it's having a problem with. It's the motherboard that's going bad. And she tells me a story of it didn't happen all at once. It's been going bad over time. And I've heard this story before too, where it's just like for the last couple of years, it works, but then all of a sudden it'll have a problem and I'll have to restart it and keep going again. These are the kinds of stories you tell about a piece of hardware that is slowly going bad. And I suspect what I'm seeing in the market is laptops kind of like used cars. Kind of like, you should probably sell that before it becomes a much bigger problem. Laptops. Like, it keeps freezing every once in a while when I do this. Maybe I should just buy myself a new computer and get rid of this one.
Don't do this.
Right? Well, you can't do that. You can't tell the computer not to do this. And so I just kind of like a public advisory. This is Scott's thinking when I see stuff like this in the market. I could not come up with a fixable solution for her. If I bought the part from a reputable source and then added my labor on top of it, she's in a new computer. Or we could roll the dice, buy a motherboard from a place that I'm not certain is going to take it back if it doesn't work. And I imagine what I would end up with is a motherboard that is going to be going bad anyway, or has already started going bad. That's the reason it's on the market in the first place, is they started putting it in the third party market or secondary market because they just wanted to get some value out of it before it fell apart on them. Now, all of that's background fodder to bring you to what I discovered on Amazon through pricing for a new laptop. There are some really reasonable equipment out there, which is hard to believe given the memory situation we're in right now. And it's because you're going way back to 10th and 11th generation, in some cases 8th generation processors. Now, I think this is good to know. I was really caught off guard that we could buy a 16 gigabyte Gen 10 Intel i5 with a 14-inch display, touch display, backlit keyboard for $350. That is an amazingly reasonable price for a quad-core processor that has 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 storage, half a terabyte of storage in this economy, in this they are not, you're not going to find this in a 13th or 14th generation Intel, and I would tell you not to look for them because those processors have proven to have errors. They're part of the folly of Intel. You know, they put out those generations and they started eating up the processors. They had to send out firmware updates to those chips so they would not eat themselves up. Basically, you bought power, you bought cycles that you were expecting to use, and Intel said, well, actually, if you use those cycles, you're going to burn up your computer. So here's a piece of software to stop you from using the power that you thought you were buying. So I wouldn't be in the 13th and 14th generation Intels in the first place, unless you were a tech person willing to deal with these issues. And so this is kind of a serendipitous spot to be in right now. I was completely caught off guard. These are totally usable computers. Now, if you're looking at an i7 or an i5 sporting 4 cores and 16 gigabytes of memory, you have found the computer you were looking for what you, I mean, if you're, now take it with a grain of salt. If you're a video producer, that you're not interested in one of these computers. If you're, if you're doing music production and basically the arts, you're doing all the creative stuff, you're building those kinds of things, you're doing 3D CAD, you're doing game development. At the same time, I don't need to warn anybody about that because none of us are. The people that are doing that stuff are very aware of the kind of power they need. And they're not asking me for help to buy a computer. You're not doing that kind of stuff. You're asking me for help picking out a computer. And right now it's, Jesus, am I going to spend $900 on a computer to check my email? It's like, no, actually, you don't have to. You can actually go back to an 8th to an 11th generation, well, a 12th generation, 8th to 12th generation Intel, back when they had their footing. You can find one that's been renewed and guaranteed by Amazon, and it will have a touch screen, it'll have a backlit keyboard, and it doesn't exceed $500.
But it won't go to 11.
It will go to 11. Anything over an 8th generation will go to 11.
Will it?
Yeah.
And 12?
Well, who knows? There is no 12 yet. And actually, I may have said that too quick, but they've got them on the market with 11. So that's the other thing that when I'm looking at a $350 computer, it should be on the market running Windows 11.
Yeah.
If it's running Windows 10, then you want to be concerned that it doesn't support the TPM module, which is required for 11. So you could be in an 8th generation computer, and if it doesn't have the TPM module, then you're not going to 11. But I am
all these requirements for 11, and it sucks.
Yeah, no, it really, yeah. And then it's rated as the slowest, most system requirements needed since Windows 7. Just to reiterate that history, Windows has traditionally, since the fiasco of Vista, they have firmly made each version of Windows run better on old equipment than the previous version. So if you went to 7 from Vista, it flies. You go from 7 to 8, it flies. You go to 8.1, it flies. You go to 10, it flies. All of these operating systems required one core, required 4 gigabytes of memory. Now that's not the greatest experience. We all know that from experience. But the fact that you could do it was really impressive, that you could have that same really old laptop, and every time you upgraded Windows, it got better, not worse. And then Microsoft put out 11, and all of a sudden everybody has to buy new computers if they're going to live in a Windows world. Jim, you're looking into the camera like you got a question. Would you like to ask something?
Me? No, actually, I was looking to see whether I had the microphone on.
Oh, okay. Well, you do have it on.
Okay.
But you have no background ambient noise interfering with us, so you're fine.
Excellent. Okay.
So anyway, that was my revelation of the week, was helping somebody buy a laptop, a budget laptop, to get by, because they have plans to buy a better laptop sometime in the future. They just didn't expect this one. It's such a sad story when you've got a piece of equipment like to me, I look at this it's a Yoga. I mean, if you're interested, you can look it up. It's a Yoga 910. And these are beautiful Ultrabook machines. They're easily serviced. Like if you open up the back, there is 10 screws keeping the bottom cover on. But when you pull that off, everything's in front of you. You can change the memory. You can change the motherboard. You can change the parts on the sides. It was built to be serviceable in that world in 2017. Nowadays, we're expecting a lot more about serviceability. But if you compared this to, say, a Macintosh in 2017, there's no glue. But the motherboard is one board. So like you can't change the CPU because you don't expect to do that on a laptop anyway. What you do expect on a laptop from that time period is to have to remove everything from the chassis to get to the motherboard. And that's not the case of this. This is a perfect case scenario for replacing the motherboard. If I could find a motherboard I could trust with confidence, when you add $400 to the confidence, you're like, well, maybe you ought to just buy a new computer, because how could it be worth it? But to me, it's like a classic car. It's like it's got a beautiful, great working hinge that allows it to flip over and be a tablet. It's very lightweight. It uses an M2 hard drive. In 2017, it was using an M2 SATA hard drive. That's just a board. It's not much bigger than your memory. So this is a computer that, if the motherboard was good, you would not give up on it. You would just change the storage. You add more memory to it. Away you would go, continuing to use it. It would easily be a computer that would be a daily driver for me, even almost 10 years later, just because of that upgradability. So it's sad to see this thing be put to the wayside. But somebody like me would have to want to love it and fix it and pay that cost. And I offered to do it, but then I couldn't find a motherboard that made it a realistic fix. And because she loves it, I went out and priced these computers that were identical, the same computer. And that same price disparage, that same margin was there in the whole computer, not just the motherboard. But we had computers that were selling at $400, and we had computers that were selling at $1,200, and at abundance, like a lot of $1,200 computers and a lot of $400 computers. And what that tells me is this is a computer that's prone to go bad over time slowly. And these people are just trying to get rid of these computers before they completely die. So that's what affected my purchasing decision. And I was happy to see that there were some options in eBay and Amazon. Of course, I like buying laptops from Amazon, especially if they're refurbished, if they're renewed. Buy Amazon renewal. Make sure it's Amazon renewal, because that makes Amazon responsible for that 90-day period. If there's any problem with it, you're dealing with Amazon. If you buy your HP or your Dell or your Yoga from renewed from some other source, then you're at the mercy of that source if there's a problem with it. If you buy them from Amazon renewal, it doesn't matter what name brand you've got. Amazon is responsible for that computer. And we have federal laws that make it a requirement that they have to be responsible for it for that 90-day period. So I like buying renewed computers from Amazon. I also like buying renewed computers from Dell. I think Dell is a great source for renewed computers. And I actually feel like many times you get a better computer from a Dell that's renewed than a brand new Dell. Many of the Dells that are out in the world are built to order, and what that means is that particular combination hasn't been fully sussed out. Hello, Cheryl. Cheryl's joined us now.
Good morning. I was watching you on YouTube, but
right.
now I'm able to come in and join you.
Well, I was just talking about how I was happy to find there is a real market out there for older computers that fit the bill for modern use. And I was telling the story of how I was helping somebody shop for a replacement computer. And we found a number of computers that were 8th generation to 12th generation Intel. Those are the Intels you should be, if you're looking at that price point of $350 to $400, $250 to $450, you're looking for an Intel if you're looking for a Windows computer. The AMD processors are not equivalent. Cheryl says hi.
Oh my god. Hi. 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 What's up? What's up, Cheryl? New York City was awesome. I had a great time.
So I guess what I probably should do at some point is just make a checklist of how to buy one of these computers, because people are going to need computers. Memory and CPUs are the supply is gone, and so if you're looking in modern stuff, they're very expensive. If you're looking at the latest, if you're looking at Intels that are 13th and 14th generation, what are you doing? You should be buying AMD processors, because AMD during that time period kicked Intel's butt for performance and battery life. So you're looking at their latest generation, and the only thing which is really interesting, which is just starting to bubble up this week, is Intel's Pathfinder CPUs. The A18 processors are on par with what Samsung is doing and what TMSC. God, why can't I say it? Semiconductors, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturers, TSCM, no, TMCS, tiramisu. You're hungry.
TMCS?
TS, I can't even remember the acronym now, but it's the Taiwanese fabrication that has been making Apple's chips. So when we've been talking about the new Macintoshes, the M series, the Apple Silicon, that has all been made by Taiwan, because they had the 2 nanometer fabricators. So does Samsung. Samsung has the 2 nanometer fabricators, which has made it possible for these chips to be so powerful and have such low thermals. They don't need as much cooling. It's the 2 nanometer process that has made that Apple silicon so effective. It's the reason that Apple went away from Intel. Intel couldn't do it. They couldn't get away with 10 nanometer. That's when we started having problems with the 13th and 14th generation, was when they were trying to scale their size down below 10 nanometer at a time that Taiwan and Samsung was putting out chips at 4 nanometer. So they really dropped the ball. Now, what's interesting, what has bubbled up in the last week, Apple is cutting a deal with Intel. I don't know if you guys saw this. Intel almost went bankrupt. They got a bailout from the government. I don't know if you guys are paying. It got 2 bailouts from the government.
What?
Yeah.
They to do that?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's really a complicated bit to think about. We don't have anybody making chips in the United States except for Intel. There is genuinely a security concern of us not being able to vet and make our own chips. I mean, it's a real concern. Even more so, given our current administration creating so many security problems for us, it has become very clear that we need to be worried about depending on ourselves.
Yeah. Totally.
Right? And there is no one else that's fabricating chips in the United States except for Intel. So during the Biden administration, they gave Intel something like $10 billion, something like that. I mean, I was being brought back up to speed on this before club. I was reading through this stuff. Hey, Richard's joining us.
Hello.
Hey, Richard.
Hey, Richard.
That one, no?
Yeah.
As well.
Hi.
You can say hi in both places.
I don't know. Richard looks like he's got his microphone on, but once again, we're not hearing anything from him. So I'm imagining he's having some technical issue that he's got to restart. But yeah, so Intel got 10 billion. I questioned it at the time. I'm like, oh, now you're just making whale sounds.
Are you talking about me?
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
You started it. You encouraged.
Is there still background sound?
No, well, I think there was something stumbling your stream. It doesn't sound like it is now, but when you were coming through before, it felt like it was stumbling.
I apologize for interrupting with bad sound.
No worries. But then in this latest administration, Trump's administration has given like another $3 to $9 billion. I don't know. We ended up with stock too as Americans, kind of like Mexicans owning their oil company. 10% of Intel's owned by the United States right now. So now we have more than one vested interest in Intel being successful, and people are saying it is an example of too big to fail. Probably more legitimately so than the banks were at the time. I mean, I do worry about the fact that we don't have a sovereign chip creator in a world where full computer systems can be covertly put on the same silicon right next to the device that you were hoping they were making. I mean, it's a genuine concern. Like we know that we can do this. There has actually been precedents for this in the past where illegitimate devices had been engraved on what was supposed to be legitimate processors, sitting there just ready to be turned on by bad actors. So there is some legitimacy to this, and because they were able to get these infusions of cash and they were able to retool. The other thing that has made this possible is one of the failures that was the reason they were so successful in the past was they were the designers and the founders. They were the factory that built the chips, and they were the company that designed the chips, and they never built chips for anyone else. They always built their own designs, their own chips. Even when they did work for Apple, when the Intel chips were in Apple, Apple had to work around their designs. That's the reason they left Intel, is because they wanted to do stuff that Intel could not make work. And so they left Intel 5-6 years ago. Now they're coming back. Now it's looking like, and I hope it's more than just let's get our economy back on track. It looks like Apple has put together a deal with Intel, and to backtrack a little bit, with the money, and I'm afraid that ringing's coming across.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm just going to mute it real quick. To backtrack, because I kind of skipped over it, with the money that was infused in them and new leadership that decided to separate those two functions with Intel, which had to hurt. Intel's been around forever. I mean, it's like HP breaking up, right? It's one of the cornerstones of technology. They're like one of the founders of Silicon Valley. And they're like, the only way that we're going to be able to survive is to break this company in two. And so we've got Intel designers, but we have Intel foundries, the fabrications, and they stuck all this money into upgrading their process. And now, from what I've read, I have not been following this until I got a synopsis this morning. They are on par with Samsung and with Taiwan, and that it hasn't been proven yet. Like the Samsung and the Taiwan foundries have proven themselves. They are in iPhones. They are in the new Macintoshes. They are in almost every Android phone that you're running right now, any modern Android phone. So that's where we're at right now in this process, is that we know the Taiwan foundries and the Samsung foundries, in that case Korean foundries, are sound and proven at 2 nanometers. Intel now has foundries that supposedly can do the same thing. They're ready, and Apple's in negotiation to have them building Apple Silicon chips for them. This would be an amazing leap forward for the United States, not to make it national, but it is absolutely being pushed by nationalism. We wouldn't be in this place if we didn't feel like we needed to have a foundry on American soil. And this could very well be it. It has not, they're not proven yet. If you're looking for proof, it's the Panther Lake chipset that has just come out. And if you want to look for it, you'll see it in the market as the A18, the Intel A18. And this I did not refresh in my memory, but I've got a feeling they had help designing it. I feel like I saw a story in the past, and somebody correct me if they know what I'm talking about, but it seems like the foundry has proven itself. But I think they borrowed designs. I think they licensed designs to make the A18. And it is getting, what the reviewers are saying is it is getting the battery life and the performance that we've been seeing from the Snapdragons, the new Snapdragons, and the Apple Silicon. So it's the first time this is giving the Apple Silicon a run for its money in performance and battery life. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not telling anybody to run out and buy an A18 based computer. I think Windows is still in question. You may want, this particular customer could not consider a $600 Macintosh laptop because they fundamentally run specific Windows software, which is sad because of the position that Microsoft has taken right now is really creating controversy in that world. The privacy issues, the security issues, the need to be connected to cloud services. And I know none of this is actually in the document I provided to you, but I had, since Richard's with us as well, and Jim's with us as well, and Jim's with us as well, and Fred's with us as well, and Bill's with us as well. I thought you'd all appreciate, and Emily's with us as well, would appreciate my latest Windows install story, because it is ridiculous. My wife brought to me their church computer once again. I helped her buy a new computer because this old computer, which is actually a nice huge screen, it's like a 17-inch or 15-inch widescreen HP 2-in-1 touchscreen, backlit keyboard, beautiful big HD display on it, and it can only run Windows 10. And so they had to get into a new computer at some point because they're very Windows based, and this computer's falling out of favor in October. The operating system, at the very least, brought it to me and said, can you just wipe it so that we can donate it to somebody? So I do the thing you're supposed to do. I use the Windows tools that are built into the computer to wipe the computer. One of those erase everything movements that you find in Windows 10. Erase everything, my files. In fact, it has some dialogue in it. Do this if you're planning on giving this on to someone else. It's that kind of wipe. And you got to know, if you don't, Windows has this included. Macintosh does as well now. If you want to hand this off to somebody else or put it in a Goodwill bin, do this first, and it will go through a scouring of data on the hard drives and put on a fresh Windows system. So I do this. Windows 10, up to date, leaves the computer in a reboot loop. There's nothing wrong with this computer. The hardware is sound. There's something wrong with whatever Microsoft updated in Windows 10 to do the restore, because I'm just using Microsoft tools to put it back to a Microsoft Windows computer, and it is presented to you guys like something that anybody can do. It's just an option in settings. You just press a button, follow the interview. But what I was left with was a computer that was continually restarting and restarting and restarting and restarting and restarting, never completing the install. And so then I had to pull out a trusty USB stick, and I had to download Windows 10 using the Windows Media Creator. And that worked fine, because I know how to restart the computer with a USB drive, and I know how to go through the process of wiping out the hard drives that were there when I found them and create a new hard drive for new installation, and then install the Windows 10 from USB. And you can Google all those instructions if you don't want to pass on your computer with the potential that it's got stuff on it. And I did all that, and it worked. And then it asked me to hook to the internet. And I said, wait a second, this is Windows 10. I don't have to hook to internet. No, that is a lie now. There's no way. I mean, okay, there is. Jim knows this. I could have gone on another computer and started Googling. I know there's hacks to get around setting up a Windows 10 computer without getting connected to the internet. But that's not really what any normal person should have to deal with. And I'm here to say there used to be a skip button. When you would get to that point, there used to be a skip button on Windows 10 installer, so you did not have to be on the internet to complete the computer setup. There is no skip button. So I had to connect to the internet if I was just a normal person. So I did that. Then it goes on to, you have to set up a Microsoft account. You never had to do that in Windows 10 before. There was a skip button. And I'm using skip metaphorically because the internet issue, it didn't say the word skip. It had something else like continue without a network. The Microsoft account requirement always had the ability to set up a local account. These are things that were taken away in Windows 11. They're grievances that people have with the Windows 11 install. And they do not exist any longer now in the Windows 10 install. They have married the installer, the process from Windows 11 to Windows 10, so that if you need to reinstall Windows 10 from a USB drive, you're stuck having to set up a Microsoft Services account. If you're a normal person, I've left the computer sitting on my workbench in this state because I'm finally like, well, all that is crappy, and I'm going to share it with people so they know that's going on. However, I do need to fix this computer, and I will do it legitimately. So I will sign in with my Microsoft account, or the one I use for setting things up. It didn't work. It didn't work. It would not verify my account. So this is the part where I thought Richard would really get a real laugh out of it. I was doing what they asked me to do, and it didn't work. This is where the consumer is really getting beat up. Like it's one thing to not want to do what they're asking you to do. It's another thing to be just going along, going, oh, you need my Microsoft account. Okay, I will do that. And then to have it try and verify that it's my Microsoft account and have every way that it could be verified fail. And I know my Microsoft account is legitimate. There's no reason it should have failed. So I'm left with a computer I can't use because I decided to wipe it out. Now I have to figure out why it's failing, because what if that happens to the person they hand it off to? Right? I mean, like that's the issue, is I could leave it in this state where it's in the interview getting set up as a new computer, but if it won't accept my Microsoft account, what are these people going to do? And there is no these people at the moment. There's somebody that they're going to pass this laptop off to, but that's frustrating. So that's my Microsoft versus Linux story of the day.
You should pass it off and then let whoever gets it call you for computer help.
Well, I imagine since it's the church and it's an old computer that can't run Windows 11, they're going to pass it off to somebody that doesn't have the kind of resources to pay for help.
Oh man, now I kind of feel bad about my joke.
Well, this is the reason that I want to make sure that it's squared away before it gets handed back to the church, is because I would want them to, whoever gets it, to be able to open it up and start using it without having to ask for help from me.
I'll tell you what I find amusing about that story, Mr. Stimson.
Go right ahead.
I just put it in context of everybody's sort of, especially people who've never tried it, the whole Linux is difficult.
No. Yeah.
The whole Linux is difficult. Linux is, oh no, I can't try Linux because I'll be so frustrated. I'll have to wrestle with it so much. And it's like, come on, man. You're a professional.
Brother, we're already wrestling with it. What's the difference?
At the end of the day, and literally at the end of the day, I did not have a working Windows computer. There
you go.
Right? I have 4 different Linux distributions I've been playing with recently. I imagine any one of them would have, well, actually, I booted up 2 of them to just make sure the hardware was working correctly. Right? If I had chosen Linux, I would have been done within the first 2 hours and would have gone on with the rest of the day. Now I've still got a project sitting on my desk.
Scott, I set up a VM for Mint. I wanted to try the XFCE desktop. Okay, from the get-go, clicking the ISO to totally set up was, I don't know, 12 minutes, 15 minutes.
You're doing this in a VM though, right?
Yeah. But it would have been the same on. It would have been the same on hardware. It would have been the same straight on metal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like you click through. I got an English keyboard, blah, blah, blah. You know, okay, boom.
Yeah, I would never be able to get that kind of speed out of an install, but it's because I'm installing these in older machines. It's not modern equipment.
Yes. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way I could do it in 12 minutes, but it definitely wouldn't take all day and fail.
There are no hitches. There are no hitches. And then it just comes up and you have your little mint screen and you're disoriented if you're a Windows user. So, you know, you learned something.
And if anything, and I am daily using a Linux computer now. Before it used to be a hobbyist thing. Now it's sitting there being used every day for some activity. But it's a little boring. After you have sorted out all the tools, which is the interesting part, is the equivalence of a Windows tool that you were using. Now you're using Linux, so you need an equivalent tool. Unless you're doing it through a web browser, then you're just doing the same thing you were doing before. Then after you've sorted that out, it's a little boring because everything just kind of works. Every time you turn to it, it just kind of works. There isn't a lot of drama, and there isn't news articles popping up when you don't want them. There isn't messages trying to sell you stuff. It's
no kidding, man.
It's just sitting there ready to go.
And I mean, when you use it like I do full time over a long period of time, you go so long without having any hitches for anything at all. And then some little thing comes up, you know, window won't close, and you're like, oh my God, man. I mean, what's going on here?
That's the uncomfortable difficulties that you have with Linux that they all talk about. That one time this last week that you had to do something that took 10 minutes more of your time. Well, that's my rant. And I'm happy to give more information on that. But I did bring some what I thought would be very interesting news articles for you guys. And they're pretty light, too. They're just some fun stuff. Like there's an article here from the BBC or the Independent reporting that your age verification systems are getting bypassed by fake mustaches that children are drawing on their faces.
I buy that. That's totally right.
I mean, it's anecdotal accounting of parents saying, yeah, we've caught kids using a eyebrow pencil on their bottom lip to qualify as a 15-year-old. Because
that's really clever. I never thought of that. That's a great story, Scott. Wow.
Well,
drawn on mustaches. Good.
Yeah,
it's obvious once you see it. I mean, once you see, you go, yeah, sure.
Well,
but I never thought of that.
If you're going to be age verifying children who don't have documentation, they're going to be turning cameras on to take pictures of them. Right?
Fucked up. Just on its own, fucked up.
Yeah,
just taking pictures of random children.
That sentence alone should have you rethinking your procedure. But that's what they're doing. And so children, being the most creative and sometimes the brightest people in the room, will come up with a way to get around age verification. It's just a puzzle to be solved. And what an easy way to do it in this context.
Drawing on a fake mustache is the new scrolling down to 1999 in the what age are you?
That's right. When were you born? It was never very difficult for my child to choose 1999.
And it won't be very difficult for these children to draw on fake mustaches.
Anyway, they get into more ways that they have more reports of getting around more ways of getting around and thwarting age verification. I think there's something to age verification. I really do. I think that in my opinion, I think the internet has always been the wild, wild west. And I think that there there should be some system there that gives parents the ability to limit what their kids have access to. But I also think that there's honor system that has to be wrapped up in that. I think the onus needs to be on the parents. They just need to have the tools. And this general age verification thing, in my opinion, is really a scam just to track everybody's data.
It's so, you know what? You know what's happening? I'm on Tumblr. You know what's happening on Tumblr right now? Sorry, this is adjacent to well, okay. I'm taking the room.
Go ahead.
On Tumblr, a new
Tumblr is a social media site that's been around forever. That's more about blogging than it is most anything else.
Yeah.
Go on.
Blogging fandom. There's okay. So in the UK and Brazil, they rolled out a new update that's age verification on Tumblr. Which one of the best things about Tumblr is that you're completely anonymous on Tumblr. It's weird to post photos of yourself on Tumblr. It's like,
which Tumblr has drawn the attention of many that have their own gender identities. They don't want to be messed with in other contexts. They want to feel free to share opinions without people coming after them, or the protection of being anonymous, and so they don't have to worry about literally being discovered who they are.
So everyone's mad about the age verification. One thing that is ridiculous is that a form of age verification is that like it's age verification. It's like pictures or whatever, but you can't. This is something that was pointed out. A form of age verification that I feel like should be taken on Tumblr if you're gonna do it, but isn't being taken, is that some blogs on Tumblr, some accounts are 18 years old.
Fully 18 years old.
18 years old blogs.
So there's no reason for age verification because the blog's been around long enough that whoever's doing it has got to at least be old enough.
Yeah.
Because it's been around for 18 years.
And that's not taken as a form of verification. You still have to do. So it's obviously about data.
It's about data. It's not. It's not about a legitimate. That's what you're saying. This is the first time I've heard this, but I'm translating Emily, I think.
Thank you for translating me. I'm deeply incoherent.
Well, there was also, you had brought it up before on Tumblr, the moment they started, because Tumblr has had a self-regulation system.
Yeah.
When things are age inappropriate, people go out of their way to express that on their posts.
They'll tag it as
adult content.
As adult content.
They self-censoring, self-identifying their content.
Well, there's no viewer wall, is there?
Hold on.
It works for people that don't want to see it, and it also works for people who do want to see it.
It's a system that works.
It's a system that works.
When they added age verification, they started not self-identifying.
Yeah.
So now you don't know if you're a Tumblr user, whether you're an adult or a child, you're just getting a fire hose of information.
You're scrolling down your dash. Porn can just jump out at you because it's not tagged.
Because they're not tagging it. Because if they tag it, then they're flagging it for age verification.
They're flagging it for maybe their account might be suspended.
Because they're posting content that could be questionable.
And they're not going to stop doing that.
So, I mean, it's just failing what it's trying to accomplish. And every time it fails, but they're still collecting data, that's what's succeeding, is they're succeeding in creating databases full of personal data that include things like pictures of licenses and passports and children, right? It's the whole way it's being, I guess, I mean, I might be a little bit of a hypocrite because I have preached before that I think there are consumer protections that should be in place regardless of whether the technology is there, because it will force the technology to comply. And I think a great example of that has always been when the FCC declared that we needed to be able to carry our phone numbers with us. I think that was an awesome example of regulation dictating how our culture and business was going to work. because technically it was an impossible mission. Jim's giving me the 2-minute warning. I'm going to open up the next meet if you guys want to move over to it at your leisure.
Oh yeah, brother.
Just remember, if you do that, you will drop out of hearing what other people say in the other meet. And we've got 3 minutes left in this meet, so says the clock.
Did you hear that Microsoft's gonna get rid of the trim, the TRM? So they're gonna make to 11 you can install it without
Oh, without the TPM, the trust module, trust platform module,
TRM, yeah.
the TPM, the
TPM?
TPM 2.0.
Alright.
Yeah, well, that's what they need to do because they want to put out 12.
Well, yeah, it's coming up. It's supposed to happen within the next month or so. I was reading an article on it. So to make it easier to install 11 on older computers.
Now you got to be careful with that because I've seen a couple of articles about this. This is what we want them to do.
Yeah.
We've heard Scott. He's a VP in development. He has a podcast I listen to all the time. Hanselman, Scott Hanselman has a famous memo out there right now talking about the changes that are definitely happening at Microsoft with Windows, specifically in this context, and his desire to take the TPMs out of it. He wrote this great memo arguing why they need to do it in the future, but they have not committed to it. And then there's a number of articles out there on the internet that reference that memo as though it's God. But we haven't, I mean, unless you saw something that's, this is just recently. So I'll have to go look and see if that's verified. But that would be an awesome change because
it's coming with all the new updates coming to Microsoft has lost so much money and because of 11,
yeah,
they're spying and all that. They're taking a lot of it out. They're getting rid of the ads off the start bar. There won't be any more ads. And a couple other things are all due to disappear. And that was one of them, the TPM.
Well, that is, I mean, this is like the list of it's not you, it's me. How can I fix myself? Kind of
they want to
relationship.
Get their people to trust them again and stop going to Linux because they're.
I mean, they're just bleeding market shares right now. And then they see the writing on the wall. They see that they see countries and organizations going towards a Linux distribution that works for them. It's funny to think about. I mean, just this whole. I was around when it started. I was using a TRS-80 color computer, running a version of Microsoft Basic made for the Coco, and writing my own programs when Windows came out. And
I'm seeing the vision.
And at that time, all the software that was coming out was built to run in BASIC or the new DOS operating system that Windows was going to run on top of. And because Microsoft had worked out a working relationship with IBM, they flooded the market with DOS and then eventually Windows that would run on top of DOS.
Mm-hmm.
And we take it for granted that we had no other options. That we were in Windows because it was in front of us, not because we chose it. It's almost like we bought a car that runs gasoline because that's all there was to run the car on. We never questioned where the gasoline was coming from. I mean, until it got too expensive in the 70s. But the idea that an entire infrastructure was created, vehicles were created, a whole system, a network of connections was created, all on the foundation of gasoline, never changing, never being something different, always being provided by one of three big companies. Well, Microsoft is one of two big companies that provided stuff, and Apple at the time was just a joke that was kept around to make the Department of Justice believe that they had competition. Everything for the last 50 years has been built on this DOS idea the foundation of one software platform, and Microsoft broke it. Competition didn't break it. We're not in this state because Apple's got better equipment. Apple has better equipment. It's not the reason that Microsoft is failing. In my search for Windows computers, I came across Chromebooks that were absolutely adequate, had plenty of memory, real rock bottom prices, would work perfectly well for somebody that didn't need to run Windows software. Windows software is the issue, and they have broke their customer base to the extent they're all looking for options not to use Windows software. So it doesn't matter if they fix their problem. They're scrambling like they are competition now. They are not the monopoly. They're right there, sitting right alongside any other alternative, because people are so frustrated with the way they broke Windows. And one of the articles I brought that I thought you guys would find interesting
Let's go.
is Microsoft commissioned, they paid a research group to find laptops to kick the shit out of the MacBook Neo. They didn't know which ones could do it. So they hired a group, System 95, which I'm really not that familiar with, but I do know that what they do, Signal 65 is their name. That's how unfamiliar I am. But they do reviews all the time on equipment. Microsoft paid them to go out and find laptops that would kick the butt over the new MacBook. And they did, and that's one of the reasons I've included the article, is because I thought you might be interested in laptops that are out there at a price point competitive with the Neo, that are showing better stats is the best I can do, because we're talking about Windows running on these computers and the software that runs on Windows. Each has a unique experience. But what they're showing us as for $600 in a PC world, these are computers that have processors that can go faster and memory footprints that are bigger and secondary storage that is larger than the MacBook Neo, which we should expect that would be the case, because you need all of that if you're going to get close to the performance of what's put together in a Macintosh operating system. In fact, what this might be is a list of the budget laptops that might be great computers to run Linux on. Because what Linux has proven is it's a better operating system than Windows 11. I don't know about Windows 10, but Windows 10 is going away. So as we go into the future, I think what you're looking at is Windows 11, Macintosh, or Linux. That's what you're looking at. Well, I guess you could look at Chrome OS.
Choose Linux.
But these are impressive computers for what they are. But it's an argument whether they actually do kick Neo's ass in these comparisons. What these computers do show up with is a way of providing a battery life that's very similar, very close, and they are providing more storage, more RAM, more CPU cycles. And if you're somebody looking at that stat list on the sticker, this looks better than the Neo. What Apple has always proven is you can't look at that stat list and think you've got a more performative computer.
So what you're saying is that in the budget laptop world, we have Neo MacBook. Am I saying that right?
Yep, the MacBook Neo.
Okay, MacBook Neo. And the alternate would be to buy something we could put a Linux system on.
Eventually you could put it. If you buy it with Windows 11, you're welcome to stay in a Windows world if you want. But what you might be looking at here is a list of very capable Linux computers.
And when you're making this checklist for me real soon, can you...
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Can you the next meeting document?
You're going to be comparing storage, RAM, and what else?
No, I'm sorry. I may have convoluted the whole issue. The reason these laptops in this report are here is because for the same price, you're buying a package that shows a processor that has more cycles than the Macintosh processor. It may even have more. No, I don't even think it can. I don't think it can have more process. I don't think it can have more CPUs. I don't think it can have more cores. I don't think it's possible, given the time period comes out. But it's showing a faster processor than the Neo is showing. It's showing many times twice as much RAM as the Neo is showing. And it's showing more secondary storage, more hard drive than the Neo is showing for that budget price. And the argument is, do you like
For $600?
Yeah. And
I'm sorry.
do you like that computer better? Because it's running Windows, which is not as performative as Mac OS. It's not a unified memory arrangement, which is what the Macintosh system is. The way it balances it between the RAM, the secondary storage, and the processor is very unique to Macintosh, and has only been adopted a similar type of system in the Panther. I think it's Panther is the name. Maybe it's Pathway. Damn it! Now I've forgotten the keyword. For the A18. I'm sorry. Let me refer to it like this. The Intel A18 chip is the first Intel chip to adopt a similar framework of unified memory, and that's one of the reasons it's more performative than its predecessors, and it's comparative with the Taiwan and Samsung chips that are out there on the market.
But are you saying that you can get anything like that in a $600 package?
No, I'm saying that this is the only way that they're able to compare it to the Neo, is by picking computers that for that price exceed the Neo's memory, exceeds the Neo's processing cycles, and exceeds the Neo's storage capacity. Also having trim like backlit keyboards, things like that, touch screens. They say these are the computers that are better. I don't.
That's $100?
Yeah, for that kind of pricing. That's the whole point of this report. Again, this is an article that is saying that Microsoft commissioned, they paid a review group to find the $600 computers that would compete with the Neo. And they
have a similar form to the Neo? They're not some big clunky piece of crap?
These are the compromises. These are the compromises that are not pushing it out of the class, according to the reviewists, being paid by Microsoft.
Oh boy.
Okay? So I look at this as, what a shill. They probably did a good job. Like they're getting paid to do a good job. So I look at this list of computers in front of me, and I'm like, those look like really affordable Linux computers.
Yes.
That's how I look at this list. And I think you guys should read this to get a feel for the world we're in right now. The A18 is the only...
Well, they'd all be, the hell with it. I mean, anything's a good Linux computer.
Well, right.
But
But if you want to spend $600...
nice hardware. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, the truth is the MacBook is a great Linux computer, too. I mean, there's Linux...
Well, I mean, Cheryl, I was fixated on the color choice within the Neo line. I keep coming back to that because I think it's core. It's important. It's pivotal. But
I was wondering when the color was going to come up.
Yeah. But actually what Scott's done here, seriously, if I'm sorry, I cut out a bit, but I see what he's doing here. That, if any of this Windows hardware, you're never gonna boot it into Windows, not even once. You're not gonna let that filthy thing run. If you were
got a bit of a biased opinion,
wanted to buy one of these,
more so than
install Linux, which will cost you $0. Okay, you will never, ever, ever pay 1 cent to anybody for a Linux operating system. You'd be an idiot to do so.
Oh, wait a second. You need to say that correctly. You could. You just don't have to.
I said you'd be an idiot to do so.
Yeah.
There's no reason. There's no good reason for Cheryl Howell, a civilian with ordinary computing compunctions, to ever pay a dime for the Linux OS or for
framing
piece of software you're going to run on it.
Richard, I think the correct framing would be this. Think about how often you're looking for help with your Windows computer and Microsoft is right there helping you out. Well, you can have a better experience looking for help with a Linux computer.
For free.
For free.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, to be fair, that horrible experience trying to get help from Microsoft is also free.
Well, yes, that's fair. You're right. That's even handy.
Never talked to Microsoft.
No. In fact, there was a period of time people were being scammed by Microsoft calls, and I would have to always remind people, nobody's calling to help you. You will never get a phone call from somebody trying to help you. Microsoft does not care what's happening on your computer.
Right.
They're not there to help you if you've got money ready to give them. They are not attentively ready for you if you don't have a contract with them. And as we go forward, keep that kind of stuff in mind when you're choosing an operating system. Windows 11 is such a deviation from what you got into this stuff for. If you needed a new computer and you were a web-based person, why would you go to Windows 11? Why is there a reason to give up all that privacy and security and get locked into cloud services? And I mean, all they're trying to do is hook you into something you can't get away from. The people that are stuck in Windows right now, stuck themselves unbeknownst, it's the same model that Apple has had, where you get into an ecosystem and it's hard to get out of it because you've been using it for so long. You've got everything tied to it. The beauty of this moment is Microsoft's never had nobody's ever felt locked into it until now. It's easy to get out of it. And if I needed a new computer and I was a web-based person, the only reason I have Windows, I've said this a number of times, the only reason I have Windows computers left in my world is because people I work for have Windows computers. I have to be able to help them.
What's that one?
This is a Windows computer.
All right.
Yeah. I have to be able to. It's the only Windows 11 computer in my world. The other one's the only Windows 10 computer I have in my world.
Save us from this hell.
I have to know these systems because my customers are using these systems. But we've reached a point where you guys don't have to be using these computers. No. There's no reason to be dedicated to these. And the exception is you're in a corporation. They don't let you use anything else. Corporations right now are trying to get out of Windows computers.
Yep.
You're in an education environment. Education environments are trying to get out of Windows computers. You're in a government environment. Governments outside the United States are trying to get out of Windows computers. It's all about sovereignty in a moment when we should all have choices. I'm going to stop ranting about this as Jim's walking out the door.
And the rest of you, I'll see you next year.
We'll see you in October, Jim.
See ya.
October. Yeah, it's not too far.
Not too far. Only a few months. It'll be like nothing.
Yeah, you'll be up there where it's nice and cool, and I'll be down here sweating.
We're gonna come back to a bunch of lobsters, Poppy.
Well, have fun.
Bye.
Well, I recognize that I have dominated most of this discussion just because I've got way too much stuff in my brain this week. And I did bring other topics that I find very interesting, that I think that you guys might find interesting. That's the reason I put them here. I don't have a lot of commentary. It's just news that's going on. Things like Micron, a very good example of how they're not building stuff for us anymore.
Oh my God.
They have an SSD drive that can store 245 terabytes.
Christ alive.
That is amazing, and it is also only built for rack-mounted data center computers. In fact, their interface, you can see it in this picture here, is one of the style an M2 hard drive would use. Basically, specialized server boards with an array of this slot so that they can put in an array of these drives. It's a good thing because it would require less cooling, less power. It means data centers will have the ability to survive on less resource use. Of course, we all know our own human nature. As soon as we can get the same for less, we typically get more at the same. So we don't, when we get solar panels, we don't use less electricity, we use more electricity. If we get more storage, we use more storage, we don't use less. And so it will definitely be put into use, but on paper, I'm sure they can do calculations of data centers using less cooling water, less electricity, because they can use hard drives like this. And to go back to my previous point, another example of this isn't for us. You're not going to buy this hard drive for your home computer. It wasn't built for your home computer. And it's Micron. And that's a sad story because if any of you have had to upgrade the memory in your computer in the past, you probably used Crucial memory, which had a very good reputation as a memory upgrade in the consumer market. If you're building a computer, you might buy Crucial memory. You might buy a Crucial hard drive. These are the Micron name brand for consumer memory, and it doesn't exist anymore because they decided to get out of the consumer game because data centers, AI data centers, drove the market, drove them to these products. And they are, the only reason you're aware of this is because I've brought it to your attention. This is not going to show up as an ad in one of your publications. This is totally techie stuff, pointing out how they're no longer building stuff for us. Still pretty impressive though, 245 terabytes in something the size of a hard drive. I still remember my 20 gigabyte hard drive. It was bigger than the hard drive that they are showing there for 245 terabytes, my 20 gigabyte hard drive. Well, what else?
Well, and if anybody is interested, this was just published this morning at Zitron. Where are all the data centers? And I've only begun to read it, but you lost Crucial and you lost all those beautiful products in the marketplace for you and me and everybody else. And lots of this stuff that they are manufacturing isn't really getting installed anywhere. So it's just kind of in a box.
Just getting shelved. And it's jacking up prices for things that are in demand.
Absolutely.
Does this article, you just started reading it, but I would imagine it also mentions Western Digital. If you guys don't remember, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned Western Digital had sold their entire hard drive inventory in the first month of the year.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't mean they boxed them up and sent them out. It means that a data center venture
They're all booked up.
cut them a check to make sure that they were sold, that they were accounted for. They couldn't be sold to anyone else. Western Digital. Another example of a consumer-facing company that builds products for corporation as well, changing their entire direction because of these AI data centers.
Well, and not to loop it back, but this is part of the attractiveness of Linux because Linux runs on anything. So
very small footprints.
Cheryl could forget about buying any new piece of hardware to play around with Linux if she had any computer that she was willing to convert to Linux. Because I don't care what computer Cheryl had, Linux is going to run fine on it. The only question is how fine.
Right.
Well, Scott might disagree because he's never liked my Dell.
Well, your Dell has had hard drive problems.
So I don't think we could do the Linux on the Dell.
Do you have, what does it still have a spinning drive?
I did last time I looked at it. I don't think it was ever replaced, right?
No.
So you throw in the cheapest, and this has gone up in price, but you throw in the cheapest solid state drive you can buy because we don't care. It's a solid state drive. It's light years in advance of what
Richard,
you got.
when you give people this advice, just add. There's a caveat that we all know, and it's because of the way SSD drives are made. The
Yeah.
bigger you can get, the longer lifetime it's going to have, and the faster performance it's going to have during that lifetime. The physical size of an SSD, it determines how many years it's going to be functional and how performative it is during those years.
Okay, that's a good point. Maybe you don't buy the absolute, because I wasn't thinking small. I was just thinking not necessarily the fastest one. But the point is, you throw an SSD in there and you install Linux, and you'll have a really fast computer, whatever it was. It won't be the same computer as an experience.
Yeah, those are some pretty true words. I'm putting Ed Ziftron's newest article, for those of you that have been paying attention, I have been adding, what Richard has been doing, this kind of research in the enshittification of our world. The enshittification section is where you will find links to Ed's articles, and they are deep reads. They cover vast ideas and very interesting opinions on how AI is shaping our world, and gives you some criteria for your mindset when the politics are popping up. How are you feeling about it? What kinds of, where are you going to be supporting?
They're extremely information dense, and I say this particularly to Ms. Howell. Ed's a profane guy. He's an angry man, angry ADHD man. On the spectrum, man. He's quite open about that. And he gets angry and he talks about some people and things. He uses vulgarity. He also writes 15,000 words at a crack, and it's the most information dense stuff on the AI finance subject that I think is out there. Information dense, and there are countless links in all of his newsletters to primary sources. You really want to go down the rabbit hole and look at that financial report or this or that. It's all there.
It'll be interesting to hear his opinion on Intel's recent valuation. I don't know if you guys are aware that, like, a lot of us are not paying close attention to this. It's bubbled up in the last week because of this deal with Apple. But apparently Intel's value has risen 400% in the last year.
I know, man. It's wild. It's like no one can explain really exactly why.
Well, I'd like to hear Ed explain it, because I'm sure it's going to be government bailouts and AI possibilities. And sovereign chips. Which I think is probably the best argument for keeping them in the market, not letting them fade away. Given, like I said, the recent security problems we've created for ourselves in our own country.
We've had 2 different episodes in Canada this last couple of weeks, one in Alberta and one in Nova Scotia, where they've been going to put in one of these data
centers.
Yeah, data centers. And I was so pleased to see aged people out protesting and getting involved.
Right.
And they're the ones that are reading all those big long things, and that's great. And I hope they continue to do that and protest against this kind of stuff, because basically I'm too old and I got too many other things like health appointments to do to read these missives. So I'm very pleased to see that they're standing up and they're protesting. The one in Alberta got stopped. It did not get approved. It was in our area. And the one in Nova Scotia, I just saw it on the news the other day that they're thinking about putting it in, I guess.
Well, they've run into headwinds in a lot of places in the United States. I mean, nobody really wants this junk in their neighborhood.
Wait a second. There are some proposals out there now, most recently being put forward, where the regulations would require them to produce their own power and quite possibly need to create income to distribute to the local area. Basically, like the model we have in Alaska for oil, they could be cutting dividend checks instead of your electricity going up in price. If these regulations get passed, you're just looking at universal income.
And then you have the cooling issues, and it's difficult for them to create their own water. And then with a nice confluence of this friction, right? However effective or ineffective it is, the market implodes the whole thing because all these companies are just money burners. And we take a deep breath and we go in some other direction.
Hey, if we do, what's going to be really, really interesting to watch is those Snapdragon processors. You know that they have been just piling those up because they're server chips, right? They were modified to be used as laptop and desktop chips, and they never got into desktops really, but they got into laptops and mobile. But they're just piling them for data centers, and they're going to have them left over, and they're going to have to do something with them. We might end up with just a whole run of ARM-based laptops out there in the world. Highly,
I think that any other use for these computing resources, this silicon or silicon that could be made for the money that's going into this particular AI optimized silicon, I think any other use would be better.
Right.
If it's Snapdragon laptops, if it's, you can go in 100 directions with this.
Well, and Framework embraces that kind of forward thinking. It's that I like to me, that's the laptop I want right now. I want the $2,000 from Framework. I want it because they've proven themselves in the market. They've had 3 generations of product now. Every time they put out a new part, it is backwards compatible with their old products. And so if I had one of the original Frameworks and they just recently put out an AMD discrete video card, you could put that in your old Framework. You could add power and resources to your device that was never intended to have. And you can do it with just flipping a couple of screws and doing it. Every one of their repairs is like an under 30-minute repair.
I'm amazed and very proud of those boys. It's not a product I have any interest in, but they've done it. I mean, and that they haven't collapsed with everything that's been going on with supply chains and everything else.
Well, and their dedication to do it yourself and right to repair, following regulations that California put in place, all of that has influenced the Neo's design. That's the reason that the MacBook Neo is one of the easiest to repair laptops, is because the framework exists, and California is insisting you have to support these devices for at least 7 years. They have to be easily repairable. They have to have parts in the market. Framework has their own marketplace for all their parts. It's been there for 3 years.
And even if it's not as modular as Framework, and I got to tell you, Cheryl, seriously, if I was in the market for a laptop, it is heartbreaking to me that you can't run Linux on that little Neo hardware.
Oh, yeah.
Just absolutely fundamentally heartbreaking. And there's always an asterisk on that if you're like the super freak, you could get it running, maybe, but the touchpad didn't work perfectly, but you just can't. And it's so sad.
Well, what's interesting though is that's the old story of the old Intel Macs. Now the old Intel Macs run Linux like a champ.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you've got an old Intel Mac, there is a there's a my brain is shutting off. Sorry guys. There's a Linux distribution that will run on that old Macintosh and give it more life.
Right.
But that is so far away from the Mac ecosystem that if you're living in that, it's going to be really foreign to you. Guys, I got to shut this down. I need to run back to my house. I've got guys coming to check my solar panels and workers. So this is as long as I can be away today.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Thanks, guys.
You
nice
guys
seeing
have
you,
a good
Mr.
week. We won't see you next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that, we'll be broadcasting remotely from the Walkabout Town Bed and Breakfast in Alaska.
Okay, so you're turning off the YouTube. I have something I would like to say to Em and you.
Okay, so let me say goodbye to our YouTube people. thank you for being here with us, all one or two of you. And we will see you not next week, but the following week from Alaska. Until then,
Absolutely.